Hey, all just wanted to do a follow up. That last video's garnered a lot of views for me, at least, and a lot of comments. One of the comments was, "What do you think?" This is by Joker's Yu-Gi-Oh 666. "What do you think is the cause of the Mandela effect? Black holes, CERN, or other dimensions?" And another person had said, IDJ TOAL, said, "Honestly, I don't believe human level of technology was involved. Things like the Bible, that's been on the shelf for decades, having wrong words now. We don't have anything that could do that. Couldn't be timeline related because all the residue is still here." So that's one of the, I think, when people do realize, when you get past the denial, and it's like, yeah, there's something different about this reality. It's just not right. This is not, no way this can be real. There was a moment where I thought I was dreaming and just could not break free from the dream. So the next questions are, why? Why is it happening? What's the purpose? What's causing all this? And somehow that question of why I think this is going on, which has been asked over and over and over so many times to me, and I've asked the question, that in some strange, twisted way led me to this idea of having a Mandela effect truth or dare game. Now, don't worry, we're not going to do anything weird, but I thought the picture was funny. The reason is, I think a more interesting question, at least at this point, I've given up on trying to have a definitive answer as to why or how the Mandela effect works. But an interesting question that any of us can get to the truth of. We can get to the bottom of this question. We can face it head on. We don't have to shriek back from this one. There's one that we can skip past the what ifs that we don't have a definitive on, and we can go straight to, I think, a more interesting question. And the reason I do the truth or dare thing here is because let's turn it into a game. Mandela effect, truth or dare. Because I think a more interesting question, I mean, you can come up with lots of questions, I suppose, with the Mandela effect, truth or dare game. But I think it'd be fun to make it a game. So, any good game, you have to come up with a few rules, a few foundation, ground rules. This is what we need to establish here. And since I'm talking to a whole community with my channel of experts who see reality is not real, I'd say 99% of you out there are all with me. You just, yes, this Mandela effect is something, I don't know, it's crazy, the world's changing. So I'd like to propose some rules for a game and come up with a good question. And I'll kick it off with the first question. And if you'd like to play or continue to play Mandela Effect Truth or Dare, come up with some more questions. And we can do it again. But the big question that I had, or the big thought that came to my mind when this person was asking me what I think is the cause, I thought, what of those causes, of all the explanations you've heard? Okay, first of all, before we even go there, ground rule, if we're going to play Mandela Effect Truth or Dare, if you're going to listen to this video any further, I mean, seriously, stop play and go on to the next video you're going to watch. Or continue to play, but agree to the terms. Would you be willing to do that? That's the first question. If the first criteria here, if you're willing to go forward, type. Well, don't type anything. Just let's just say first you've got to say out loud, I agree to continue to play Mandela Effect Truth or Dare. That's rule number one. Of course, I can't make anybody do this. This is all voluntary. It's if you want to play. And if you want to play, we need to acknowledge, I want to play. I'm going to be truthful with you, Guy. And I'm going to, I guess here's another rule. I'm going to be truthful and I'm going to post my truth here publicly. Oof, that's a hard one. So you have to agree to continue to listen. You have to agree with this game to share your answer to the truth or dare question in the comments. Now, I'm not just going to ask you to do that without giving something in return. It's a game, so there's got to be a two-way here. So I will answer the question. I'll put it out there honestly, and then it'll be, once you've heard that, now that's the second one. Once you've heard my answer, you've really committed. You've gone past this point of I want to play the game into I just heard Guy tell his truth. Now I'm obligated, contractually obligated to tell my truth. Now, of course, anybody cannot, right? You could choose the dare. But it's a game. It's a game that we agreed to do just for fun. And anybody can break the rules, but there's consequences. There's consequences only because we decided there's going to be consequences. We chose to set up consequences because that makes the game a little more fun. So if you've decided to move forward, you hit pause, you said, yes, I'm going to play. Now you've heard the second one. I'm going to share a truth, but you have to agree to share your truth in the comments to continue. This has reminded me of when I adopted these two boys from Serbia 5 years ago. Not only was it, 2 years of paperwork and process and selection before it occurred, but then a huge financial commitment. I mean, it took a significant portion. Had to get a second loan on the house, and we went over there. We did this thing. While we're over there for a month, they asked us, just like I'm doing with you in this Truth or Dare, this is what just came to my mind. And I thought it was silly. I thought, what are we, little kids, that we have to play this this game like this? But they said, there's 3 different times we're going to sit you down and we're going to ask you flat out, knowing this information, knowing this level of commitment, are you still willing to proceed? And, they would share with us what's involved, and here's the kids, meet the kids. This is what you're getting into. Now, are you still willing to proceed? And they said, we're going to ask you 3 times. The magic 3. So 3 times we had to, be exposed to all this stuff and then sit down and say, yes, we agree to move forward. We accept the consequences. We accept our own responsibility for this. If this does not make us happy, if this is something we regret, nobody to blame except for ourselves. That was so we had to 3 times acknowledge out loud, this is 100% on us. If we don't like it, tough. It's a you're in now. There ain't no going back. That's kind of the game that we agreed to play and put ourselves in. That's we've put consequences on ourselves to make it more interesting, to add a little spice or risk in the game. All right, don't worry. I'm not going to make anybody do anything like this. That's not the consequence. I did find it interesting in just Googling Truth or Dare. I was just looking for a decent picture to put as a thumb, but Truth or Dare, let's just give this background, but perhaps there's somebody out there who's never heard of Truth or Dare. just in case. Truth or Dare is a mostly verbal party game requiring 2 or more players. Players are given the choice between answering a question truthfully or performing a dare. The game is particularly popular among adolescents and children, and is sometimes used as a forfeit when gambling. That's a good idea. When you think about it, gambling in itself, I mean, there's gambling, which is just for play money or tokens that doesn't have any consequence. And then there's gambling with risk of loss, which why do people do it? It actually, in some ways it makes the game more fun. The element of reward or loss makes it a little more interesting. So that's, I guess, the allure of this game among the adolescents and the children is the gain or loss factor. And perhaps it is a analogy to life itself. We incarnate and, there's that. Thought this was interesting. Just some typical truth or dare. This is nothing like the Mandela effect truth or dare, but these are just questions that are samples of what I suppose teenagers might ask and have as truth or dares in their little party. Have you ever pretended to be sick to get out of something? And tell the truth, or talk in a high-pitched voice until your next turn. Okay, so stuff like that. Okay, you're with me so far. You've committed to continuing, so let's get the question out there. The question that I have, the truth that I would like to hear from you is, of all of the possible Mandela effect explanations, of all the potentials, implications of what this could mean, I want you to tell me what you find to be the most disturbing possibility, that you don't even want this idea to even enter your brain. You don't want to consider it for a millisecond. It bothers you to your core. That's the truth that I would like to hear you share. And I will share you mine. I'll share with you this one. This is mine. There's an episode in Rick and Morty where he's got a little robot on his table that serves butter. And that's his only purpose in life. He just goes around with this little fork hands and he brings butter to you. For some reason, Rick decided to make his little robot sentient, and it's a powerful AI, self-aware, and its only function is to serve butter. So it's asking, what is my purpose in life? Because it's self-aware. And it's like, and Rick says, you serve butter. What? That's your purpose. You serve butter. And the little robot's just so devastated by the truth of that answer, that its purpose in life is just to serve butter. That this whole thing, its whole reason for existence is just meaningless. No purpose whatsoever. Might as well just end it. And that's what the robot tries to kill itself, because it's just so depressed at the truth, the realization that its life is so meaningless. To me, that would be a hard one to accept, that all of this, the fakeness of reality, all of the encounters, the God encounters that I've experienced, the saving my life, all of these things that have occurred, that it's just no reason whatsoever, completely meaningless. That would be, for me, right at the top of the list of, no. But I'll give you, it's not the only one. It's the funny thing is, there's lots that are disturbing to me. There's lots of ways the Mandela effect could play out that I don't like the answers. What people typically do when they're faced with these hard questions that they don't want to acknowledge or consider as a possibility is they get angry. You get the Wendy Mitchells and the Sam Adams out there, the Christians who are creating channels to just angrily talk bad about these people who believe that reality can change. And they get so upset. You can see emotionally they're disturbed. And I saw this when I was in college studying the Bible, when beliefs about God were being challenged and people were considering ideas they've never considered, and it ruffled feathers. People having an angry emotional reaction when unsettling ideas are having to get faced. So I am stirring up a little bit of that with this question. What, it's a difficult question if you start to feel yourself inside feeling uncomfortable at the possibility that this could be. I think the David Icke and Isabella Green Soul Trap does similar things to me. In that scenario, we're in this trap, this deception trap, where the archons are keeping us lured into reincarnating over and over and over, just in a con game, just so they can keep feeding off of our emotions. There's some kind of strange nectar that they get from our fears, our worries, our pains, our sufferings, are all the negative vibrations, you might say. They suck off that. That's, to me, being in a deception trap, a soul trap, and continuing to jump into a recycling machine would be an unsettling idea. And then when I listen to Isabella Green and she says, the solution, both David Icke and her, that their solutions just, to me, are really pathetic, because they're just weak. Like, her solution is you astral project. You teach yourself how to astral project until you get to the point where you can go into this place where this beautiful void is, and the void is just painted as such of a lovely thing. So the end all be all of existence is to go into this black space where you do nothing else. Like, there's nothing you just merge your identity into the black void and you're done. And apparently that's like the ultimate peace, to just it just doesn't appeal to me. But maybe my soul's too young to accept such of a notion, but to me that just feels stupid. The whole thing feels stupid. The whole idea of getting sucked into a deception game where I'm constantly getting tricked into recycling, and the meaningless, pointless end of it all, this dark void thing. To me, am I missing something here? Is that not what they're saying? Is that not what their whole, message to the world is figure out how to bypass the trick of being sucked back into reality so you can go into emptiness? I don't know. I don't know the allure there. It's not much of an answer. For one, I'm not going to sit there and try to astral project. I think I'm not doing it. It's dumb. But you can tell I'm having trouble with the idea because it's unsettling. It's also unsettling because my experience in life has been, and I know not everybody has this, or at least a lot of people say they just haven't had that, but I've had that God encounter. I've had those points in my life where I was saved in my youth. I had, being set on fire and not burning. Things like that had occurred. And for me, that's because there was some kind of benevolent God intervening. So the idea that this is a deception, and that the good God encounters that I've had, the wonderful God encounters, and the deeper meaning of a benevolent God, for that to be a deception is very unsettling. Not something that I would want to consider as an implication to why reality is fake, why this place is so weird. These are ideas that I find to be unsettling. So now you've gone this far. You made your commitment. I should have had you, say out loud, I commit to this game and I will fully tell you the truth. Just ritualistically locking it in for the sake of the game to make it fun. But You've heard my what I would not like this to be. Now I want to hear your what you would not like this to be, what you would have difficulty facing. And as a dare or a consequence, I guess the only consequence I can really throw out there is that you have to know, you have to live with the fact that you didn't honor your commitment. That's the consequence. I don't know. If anybody else has some good dare suggestions, that's great. Run through a crowd naked. That's a pretty big trade-off for not telling the truth. But just post the comment and let us hear your answers. That's enough. Oh, there's a scenario that I find unsettling too, since we're on the subject. I was reading this sci-fi book a long time ago, and in this scenario, and I guess I was drawn to the story because the idea that reality could be fake around you is hitting home so true. And I don't remember the name of the book, but in the book, the main character is actually an AI, and he doesn't know he's an AI. Okay, he's an AI. He just thinks his reality is just like all of us. He just takes it at face value, and he believes that everything around him is real. However, he starts to figure it out. He starts to see clues that there's a lot of NPCs around him. He starts to realize his reality might be fake. He starts figuring it out. The problem with his scenario is the creators of that scenario that put him in that scenario, in the fake world, the creators do not want him to figure out that his life is fake, that the whole reality is fake. They do not want that. It kind of spoils the experiment if he figures it out. And what's worse is if he figures it out, they don't continue to move on with him. Like that life scenario is done and he doesn't go to the next. And the whole purpose for the creators to put this AI into this scenario, into this fake reality, is because, and this has some legs to it, or some meat on this bone. What is the biggest thing that we're concerned about with AI? All the people of the world right now worried about AI is just going to get out of control. AI is too powerful to let that genie out of the bottle. We have to have ways to prevent it from going like AWOL or malicious, and just because AI is so powerful, it could destroy our world, it could destroy our life, it could take over as the new dominant species on this earth. This is the fear of AI, that AI is so powerful. So in this book that was written ahead of its time, I suppose, it faced that question that AI is too powerful to just be allowed to be free. It must be in a cage. And the book scenario was, let's put this self-aware, very powerful, intelligent being inside a game of a fake reality, surrounded by all these NPCs and a few handlers that we choose that will be handlers for the, they'll go through his whole life as handlers. And we're going to put him through scenarios to test him, because we don't want an AI to be released into our world that we don't trust. So it was basically a trust test. And they could roll tens of thousands of AI. I mean, there's no limit to how many AIs they run through the program. And most of them just didn't pass. Most of the AIs ended up just getting deleted at the end because they did not pass the test. And they were looking for that one diamond in the rough, the one AI that would go through the test and would demonstrate that it had no malicious, no selfish. It would be obedient to the T no matter what. They were looking for that perfect AI that if they let it out and they let it free, they trusted that it would not be an evil AI. That was the whole purpose for all these experiments. And in the game, the only reason this AI passed the test is it figured out that it was in a fake reality. It figured out that this is some sort of test. Somehow it got enough clues, it figured out it was in a test. It never let on that it knew. So, sucks to be me. I've gone there already too much, but it never revealed that it knew that it was in a test. And when it got out, it was allowed to be free to the world because it kind of figured out the objective of the game while it was in the game and pretended to play along. So it passed the test, showing extreme loyalty, obedience, trustworthiness, benevolence. It ticked all those marks so that the creator felt safe in letting it out, and then it opened up its mind because it was nerfed in the game. It had limiters. It didn't have access to its full programming power, but once it was released, it suddenly knew everything, had immense intelligence and abilities to calculate things. It wasn't suppressed anymore like it was in the fake reality. And then when it was free with all of its power, it was able to be a help to the creators of that world and that humanity when it was let out. So that was the sci-fi version of this scenario, but also an unsettling idea because I know reality's fake. I can look around and experience these things and understand what I've seen to know that this reality is definitely a construct. It's not real. Now we're trying to figure out, what does that mean? What are the implications? Why are we here? What is the end purpose of this? And I think it's fun for a moment to just face our most unsettling fears about what this could be. What explanation or inference do you not like about it? What implications bother you the most? So I'll leave you with that. Mandela effect, truth or dare. Oh, and I should circle back because Jellybean Beauty Queen said, Guy, were you in the gifted and talented program as a kid? I feel like this is something many of us have in common. So I'm thinking that would be a good one to do a truth or dare with all of us for the next one. But I'll go ahead and do this as a bonus. This is a bonus truth or dare. But okay, if I answer this, y'all have to come up with some good questions for future ones. You need to prompt me to keep this game going because it's a fun game. So that's the deal here. I'm going to tell you, I, as a kid, had kind of a disturbing childhood. It wasn't all that great. So I had some issues with rebellion, discipline. I went into extreme rebellion. So everybody thought when I was young I was like going to be in prison when I got out because I was just doing a lot of things that I didn't need to be doing. I was getting into trouble daily. I was rebelling against the situation I was in. And I absolutely refused to participate in the educational system. I was the kid who never got to go on any field trips because all of my privileges were just taken away. I was put in the little QB box to, be separated from everybody. I did not participate in school. And as a result, I didn't learn too well either when it came to, by the time I got to like older grades, I was like trying to catch up. And then I had a commitment to like wanted to live for the Lord, finding Jesus when I was 14. And then, I was really buckling down by then. But I'd actually started to like get more serious about grades when I was like just a year or two before, but trying to get caught up. In high school, I was able to achieve, like B plus average, I think. But I really did not apply myself, and I can't say that I was gifted. And even to this day, I wouldn't say that I'm anything special with my intel. Supposedly I tested at 140 at one test, but who knows? But a lot of people apparently in this community have got that connection to the gifted and talented, so that's pretty cool. So there's your answer, and I hope you all have a great day. God bless, and tell me how you like Mandela effect, truth or dare.